sideline. Here we go. There's the ball. Look, he's going to pick it up. Fire. Yeah. Manning stays on his feet. It is caught by Tyree. 1 for 3 on the way. Oh! No! Blocked by James. Pass is intercepted. Drives down. That's Jenkins down for the championship. We will see you tomorrow night. This is for the win. Got it. Back at the wall. Target. 5 step back 3 for the
This is Chris Canary of the Indiana Pacers on Fox Sports Indiana, and you're listening to Smalltown Sportstalk.
Hello and welcome to Smalltown Sportstalk, brought to you by Endeavor Communications. I'm Jonah Freeman, as always, with Andrew Willett. Andrew, how are you, man?
Jonah, never been better, and just really excited again to be joined by another special guest. He's the head coach at South Putnam High School, coaching a very good Eagles team this year. Very happy to be welcomed by Sorrell. Coach, how you doing?
I'm good. If I got this technology going, I'm a little bit better at coaching football, I think, than getting logged into Zoom. But here we are. So
hey, your 10-0 record would definitely agree with that. So props to you, Coach.
Well, we've got a good group of kids that work their tails off, and our 9 seniors have really shown that they are great leaders, and they've taken this team under their wing and have not allowed us to have any letbacks yet. So,
first question, I want to talk a little bit about you before we get to the team. As a kid, did you play any sports that have some of those mentors that just taught you hey, I want to be a football coach? What was that like for you?
Yeah, I got lucky, and I kind of talked about it in the Star a few weeks ago, but I got lucky. I played at Brownsburg under a Hall of Fame coach, Mike Godin, and we had a really good staff with Brett Comer, who his son's now the head coach at Danville. And, those guys, I went into the business world after college, and, I went back and I said, no, this 80-hour-a-week stuff, they said, well, you got to try coaching. It's 80 hours a week too, but you actually love your job. And, Coach Godin gave me an opportunity to come and help for 6 months, and I helped 2003, I think it was. Helped coach football with them, and since then I've been coaching football. I loved it, and I've got to work with great guys like Coach Godin and Coach Comer, and then I got to go to Northview for a couple of years with Dennis Rates and Mark Rates, and obviously my 4 years at Pike with Derek Moyer. So I've gotten good coaches that all do different things, and it's kind of led me to where I am now as a coach. So,
well, that's right. You take bits and pieces from every one of your stops, from South Vermilion, Cascade, Northview, Southport. What have you taken from each place to just kind of build a culture there at South Put?
Well, I think the thing I took the most, and Coach Godin was always, very, you had to do things his way and all that way. Well, that's kind of how I was probably my first stop at South Vermilion. It was my way or the highway, and I kind of learned, hey, you're not going to be very successful doing that in this time and era. So when I went back and got to recollect myself and decided that, I'm going to take bits and pieces of, yes, we're going to do certain things certain ways, but then Coach Moyer's always said, let your coaches coach, and make your coaches better, and it's going to make you a better coach. And, when I come in here to South Put, I said, hey, you guys are going to be in charge of this, and this, and that's what we've done. Those guys have really taken charge of their positions. And, I gave the offense away. I gave the special teams away. And, I do the defense best. And that's where I need to be. And everybody else has got their roles with the coaching staff. And speaking of defense, when I was over here at Northview, Mark and Dennis Rates are 2 of the best defensive guys there are. And just getting me back to the defensive side is really helped, our defense the last 5 weeks has played really well at South Putnam. And that's just, we're finally starting to figure it out and do the right thing on the defensive side of the ball. And that's where championships are won. So,
If you don't mind, tell us just a little bit about the identity of your team and who are some of those guys that have stepped up for you guys.
The main 2 guys are Parker Hacker and Hayden Switzer. They were junior All-State guys last year. They got everybody together when all this COVID stuff hit. They made sure once things started opening back up that they were going to be lifting, and they were going to go to DePaul and throw routes. They were going to do this and do that. And those guys, when I named them captain when we got back in July, I knew because those guys stayed in contact. Hey, we're doing this. Hey, we're doing that. But the good group, besides those two, Mitchell Bach, big left tackle, Brock Haven, Connor Hilburn, and Parker Pelfrey, those guys on our offensive line have really made a difference this year. When they, last against Heritage Christian, it was, 4th and 3 from their 18-yard line, and I went for it just because they said, hey, we'll get 3 yards. And I was like, oh, this is make or break the game here. But those guys said, we're going to get this. And, the way they lift in the weight room and, a lot of our other guys, the way they lifted in the weight room has really carried us. And they've bought in completely the weight room, and they've bought into what we're doing offensively and defensively. So
you talked about some of those guys playing a big role in this offseason. How different was an offseason with COVID-19 compared to any previous offseason?
Well, we talked a little bit ago. I took this job with about 2 weeks to go before the season. So last year's team, I was trying to get going, really quickly. And then this year, I was like, oh, great, I'm going to have a whole summer to, really get these kids dialed in. And, we were really strong in the end of February, going in the first week of March, and then COVID happens. And we were, we had 500-pound squatters, and everybody was getting strong. And I was like, oh, my goodness, now what are we going to do? And then it got in May, and we're not going to have football in May. Well, then it got in June, and we're not going to have football in June. I was like, oh, boy, we might not have a season for this group that I know is going to be good. And, you just kind of relied on those seniors. Hey, what are you guys doing? And they said, well, we're going over to somebody's garage, and we're lifting weights there. Hey, we're going to DePaul, and we're going to throw routes there against Greencastle. And, and I knew they were doing stuff, and it was hard. And, once July 1st come, our kids – I said, we're going to go 4 days a week, and they wanted to go 6. So we went 6 days a week, and, that was what it was all about. Those guys were not going to let us not be good, and we've went as much as they were allowing us to go and how many hours they were allowing us to go. And we got everything installed, and we're back now, I think, as strong as we were in February in the weight room. We're finally back to that point, and I think that going in the tournament, I think that really helps us.
So you had a short off season last year with South Put, so you pretty much went out and perfected the short off season heading into the year.
Off season guy, it'd be nice. The first time I took the South Marion job, I had 1 week, then I had 2 weeks at South Putnam, and then 1 month. So I've had about a month and 3 weeks total in three years here.
Looking at your schedule, you honestly cannot ask for a better way than an 84-0 win to start the year. At what point in your season did you, play a game and you're like, man, like we are for real, like we have a chance to go far?
Every night after we finish, our coaches get together, we watch the film, and we discuss things. And every week for about, I don't know, the first 8 weeks, I said, are we any good? And, our coaches said, we're 8-0. Are you going to say that this week? And I said, well, I don't know. Are we any good? And I think that moment was when Heritage Christian, we finally played a top 5 team, and, we were up 21-0 right off the bat. And, they tried to make a run there late, but, winning that game 28-18 or 28 to whatever it was, I knew at that point that we were pretty good. When you can beat a quality team like that, it shows that you can be pretty good. And, I got when I met with the coaches that night, they said, well, go ahead and say it. And I said, no, I think we are pretty good. So it took 8 weeks. But, it gives us something to coach for and our players something to play for us.
Well, and coach, your team has been pretty darn good. Pretty dominant throughout the season. I can take a look at the schedule. You've had, you mentioned the Heritage Christian game that was 9 points. Your closest game was at Greencastle, 34-27. How do you know that your team is going to be able to take care of business when games are close come tournament time?
Well, I think, the end of the Heritage Christian game, it become – the score ended up coming back to, I think it was 21-18. And, I was like, oh, boy, here they come. And, our guys dug down deep, and they said, no, these guys are not going to come back on us. And, when that time was come, they said, let's drive. We drove down the field and scored. And that kind of showed to me. And, in the Greencastle game, it was the same thing. We had 6 turnovers. There was, that's a big rival game for us. The former coach where I'm at now, Coach Aker, was on the Greencastle staff. So there's a lot of emotion going on. And when you can overcome those 5 or 6 turnovers and still win the game, we've been tested, we've been battled. Coming up, we're going to play some good teams. Attica's a good team, and then if we can beat these guys, Park Heritage is a really good team. So we're going to have to buckle down and win some good games here coming up.
Before you touch on Attica and some of your upcoming matchups, I want to ask you, what are the strengths of your team? What's your dam plan going into a dam?
Well, our strengths are our offensive line. Like I said, when it was 4th and 3 from our 18-yard line, they said, hey, go for it. And I was like, oh, I'd never done anything like this. And I went for it, and they got 4 yards. I mean, that's our strength. When it's, when the weather turns bad, if it's wet out, if it's a little slippery, I know we can run the ball behind those 5 guys. And we've got so many weapons that if we just get the ball to them, they can do anything. And, every week I'm on a radio show, and it's like, well, Xavier Langley had the big week. Jeremiah Hiblin had the big week. Luke Switzer had the big week. Hayden Switzer had the big week. So I've got 4 or 5 or 6 guys that are capable of going off for over 100 yards, which is really nice to have in your arsenal.
Jonah, do you know what is ridiculously fast?
What's that, Andrew?
Endeavor Communications internet speeds.
That's right. In Indiana, basketball is everything. And if you're anything like Andrew and I, you are always streaming basketball, your favorite sports, or just your favorite shows. And hey, you're always going to need Wi-Fi.
Ridiculously fast.
Endeavor Communications provides Wi-Fi perfect for watching the big game, streaming your favorite shows, working, studying, and gaming all at the same time.
Not only is Endeavor fast, but when you go with Endeavor, you support the whole community.
Endeavor Communications is proud to serve and support our local community. From homes, education, businesses, Endeavor will keep you ahead of the game.
You can find out more and see for yourself at weendeavor.com. That's weendeavor.com. And tell them Smalltown Sportstalk sent you.
You mentioned Hayden Switzer, and at some point this year, he actually broke the school record for receiving touchdowns. What was that moment like for you and your team to be able to sit there and congratulate him?
It was awesome. I mean, Hayden's, a guy that's probably done a 180 from last year. I mean, he was a knucklehead when I got in there last year, just convincing him, hey, you're a good player. You just got to shut up and be a good player sometimes. And last year he broke the single season record, and then this year he broke the career record in receptions, and I think he's going to break it in yards last week, or it may be this week he's going to break it. So he's going to hold all the receiving records once it's over with, and that's the kind of kid he is. That's that 180 he's done from. Today I think in the weight room he said I squatted. His sets were 370 for 5. And last year I'd have said that I'd have never thought he would ever got over 300 for 5. He's at 370 now, and he wants to play in college. He's really bought into what we're doing, and that's the kind of kid he is, and I'm glad he's here because he's hard to stop because he can do so many things.
Yeah, Coach, a lot of coaching about a lot more than S's and O's, but more about being a mentor like that. How special is that for you to be able to go and do that to young kids?
It's good. I mean, that's, ultimately that's why we do this is to build young men, and get them to be successful in whatever they do next. It's not always football. It's not always college, but you're going to have to learn and you're going to have to grow from a knucklehead freshman, sophomore, and junior. When you're a senior, you're almost in the real world, and you've got to, start acting like it, being a leader, and and taking that next step of what you're going to do in life. And that's, for the most part, this group I have right now, I feel confident when they go out there next year doing whatever they're going to do, that they're more mature than they were when I got here, and going to be better leaders, and just better kids and better overall human beings. So.
We talked about your identity this coming week. You play Attica. Does Attica have an identity that really sticks out to you?
Attica does. They have 16 players on their teams, all they have. But they are 2x2 and 3x1. and they run the spread, and their quarterback can run and he can also throw. So you look at them and you think, wow, they only got 16 kids. They're not going to be any good, but they are really good offensively. And it's going to take us, doing our job, doing your assignment each and every play to make sure that we contain the quarterback and also, not give up the short passes or the long passes. Make sure our eyes are correct in the backfield. And that's, I got this from Bill Belichick, love him or hate him. I put it on the scouting report every week. It says, do your job. And, playing a team like this, and they run a lot of jet motion stuff, and we've got to get the right checks, get the right movement, and our guys have got to do their job each and every play.
Not saying that you're looking ahead at all, Coach, but for us, looking ahead to Park Heritage, they just got, due to unfortunate news for Cloverdale, they just got the news that they're going to the sectional championship. What would a potential matchup with them look like for you? It's
going to take every bit as what we did against Heritage Christian when we play Park Heritage, or if we play Park Heritage. They are a really well-coached team. Their head coach has 200 and some wins. They score a lot of points every time he gets on the field. They've got weapons. Their quarterback's really good. Their receiver's really good. I don't necessarily know if they've seen a team as physical as us up front on both sides of the ball, nor do I think that they've probably played a team that can do as much as we can offensively. So, I would hope it's not a shootout being the defensive coordinator for us, but, you go in a game like that, and I think it comes down to who's going to do their assignment in the back end of things, stopping the long passes and wrapping up if they do complete the passes. And, if they can stop our run game. I mean, we're going to try to run the ball a lot on them, and they're going to try to throw it on us. So, which one's going to be more effective that night? But it'd be a great game. And, unfortunately, there'd probably be about 700 people get to see it. But if there wasn't, there'd probably be 3,000 people, because it's going to be a battle of, a really good offensive team versus a really good, I think, defensive team as we get down the stretch here.
Coach, you guys are looking for your 12th sectional championship in school history. If you can take care of business this Friday and beat Park Heritage, what would that sectional championship mean to you?
Well, when I took the job, that's what it was all about. I said, my job is to win championships, and that means winning the county championship, winning the conference championship, which we've done both of those so far. And now the focus is winning state championship type games, which is the sectional, regional, semi-states. South Putnam football, like you said, it'd be the 12th one. Every year we should be able to compete for the sectional championship. I mean, the pride and the tradition is there. They've been to state championships. I got a lot of players coming up now that's dad's played in the state championship, and it means a lot for a lot of people around there to be successful and to be winners. And, it's a great place. And, when you win, you make all those guys happy, and you get all those former players coming up and saying, well, kind of makes us feel like 2002, or kind of makes us feel like, 1986, some of those kids. So, it's great.
You mentioned the conference championship. What's it like to look on the other side of the conference and see your old coach, Coach Race, that they were able to take care of business on their side and win theirs?
That's, this was, Coach Rates joked to me. He said, we ought to play this year. We should have played. And I said, yeah, we should have, but this would be the one year I think we might have a chance of beating you, Coach. The other 3 years, I don't know. It's really good to see your mentor, and, he's a good friend of mine. And it's good that both of us are successful in doing our thing. And, I don't run, Mark's going to run, he's going to run iPro and Twins Pro and run power and counter. And we spread you out and do a lot of the same stuff, but we do more of the, Oklahoma offense. But defensively, we're in the same mold. I mean, we're running pretty much the same coverage and, keeping things in front of us and being really solid on defense. And, it's good because, me and him talk and share ideas weekly still. And when both of us are successful and winning games, that's really good to have.
Coach, you talked about how that state championship in 1986, how special that is, how on the memory of a lot of people there in South Putnam. How important is football to South Put? And what has really made South Putnam home for you in just your second year here?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's because they want to win. I mean, there is, when I ask things of certain people in the community, or ask things of our kids, or ask things of the youth program, or ask things of the middle school program, it is a complete buy-in. When you can have that, and that football is that important to them, and they live and breathe to see another championship run, or multiple championship runs. And that's awesome. When I go to a youth game and watch our 5th and 6th grade kids, and they're already talking about winning championships, that you have something special there. And I think all of our programs from 4th grade up all had winning records this year, and that's a testament to you got good dads coaching in certain levels, and by the time they get to us, hopefully we're coaching them really well, and we're going to continue to win. And that's that 1986, that banner's up on the field, and the runner-ups up on the field, and that's what those kids, and they see each and every time they go out there on that field. So,
Hey, Coach, thank you so much. I think it's about time for our 60-second speed round, which will be our final activity. Jonah's got a number of questions for you, just some fun ones. And, hey, let's do this now. I'll start the timer.
Sounds good.
All right, Jonah, you ready?
Yep.
On the clock. Ready, set, go.
If you were given $1 million, what would your first purchase be?
Turf football field.
What's your favorite professional football team?
Cincinnati Bengals, unfortunately.
What's your favorite college football team?
LSU Tigers. At least one of them won.
Do you have a favorite place to eat in the South Putnam or Brazil area?
Wings, etc.
Okay, what's your favorite thing to do in your free time? Not that you have a lot of it, but
be a dad. I got 2 little girls at home, and whatever we get into.
do you have a favorite pregame meal or snack?
Yeah, I mean, we always have a Reign. That my coaches bring me a Reign energy drink, and I go to Arby's every Friday this year. So I'm not stopping going to Arby's until the season's over.
If you could pick one superpower, what would it be?
Oh gosh, everything I touch turns to gold, I guess.
Okay, that
And
should
that's
do
our
it.
time. Hey, Coach, thank you so much for doing this.
Hey, thank you for having me.
I appreciate the superstition, going to Arby's, and not liking the Joe Burrow era so far.
Well, I think we're going to be all right. Hopefully we get the first pick again and get an offensive lineman.
Yeah, he could definitely use it.
Yeah, Joe Burrow's good, but he needs a line. So,
Coach Sorrell, excuse me. Thank you so much for joining us. You've been a great interview, and congratulations on a dominant season so far, 10-0. We'll all be looking forward to you playing this October 30th, this Friday, against Attica. So best of luck.
Hey, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Huge thanks to all of our listeners, and make sure to listen to all of our podcasts wherever you listen to podcasts, whether that be Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, Stitcher, and more. Of course, I'm Andrew Willett with Jonah Freeman, and today, Chuck Sorrell. That's ST Squared.